Phones these days are basically a Swiss Army knife of the past. When you really think about it, this little rectangle is a computer, a camera, a flashlight, a radio, an alarm clock, a library, a GPS, and a bunch of other things all packed into one little box that fits in your pocket. But of course, this wasn't always the case. So peep game and lock in, because I'm about to drop some crazy phone lore. The first telephone was invented by an Italian innovator named Antonio Meucci, but Alexander Graham Bell is the guy who you've heard invented the telephone. There's some crazy phone beef here with patents and other stuff, so we might as well start there. He came up with the telephone because he wanted to have a way to communicate with his wife from his laboratory in the basement to a bedroom on the second story, and ended up making even more phones after that using the principles of electromagnetism. As you would know if you watched this video made by yours truly, sound is basically just vibrations. So in its simplest form, a phone works by having a speaker that has a permanent magnet and an electromagnet inside of it. When electric current pulses flow through the electromagnet, it moves back and forth, attracted and repelled by the permanent magnet. This makes a membrane vibrate, creating sound, which is cool and all, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. We know how to convert electromagnetic action into sound, but we have to have some way of picking up noise and converting it into electrical current so that it can be played somewhere else too. This is where a microphone comes in. A microphone capsule contains a small diaphragm connected to a moving coil. When sound waves hit the diaphragm, it vibrates. This causes the coil to move back and forth in the magnet's field, generating an electrical current, which as we know can be converted into sound elsewhere. So that's how the most basic telephones worked. But obviously there have been a few changes to that design in order to get to where we are today. So let's go over some of those. Once people figured out that phones were pretty cool, they wanted to talk to other people farther away, and not just in their same house. And that's when every homeless person's dream came in. Copper wire. Phones were connected via wire that electric current could travel through to transmit voices. But obviously connecting every single phone to every single other phone would be a lot of wire and labor. What the smart telephone people decided to do was to hook all the phones up to one giant phone router, so to speak. This phone connection point was called a switchboard, and it would just route your phone call through the board to call who you wanted to call. Further down the line in the 80s, there was a big revelation of the cordless phone, which basically still involved all the physical wires to connect the phones, but allowed the actual telephone to be wireless. They worked by having a dock that would charge the handheld phone whenever it was connected, and this dock was hooked up to the same wire infrastructure as all of the other phones. The next big thing was pretty much just taking that wireless technology and making it bigger, allowing you to make a phone call completely wirelessly. Now that you know the basics of how phones work, I can start to explain the crazy. Obviously, today we have wireless phones that work by emitting and receiving electromagnetic waves. But if I'm trying to call my little cousin over in Florida, obviously my tiny phone can't emit a strong enough signal to get all the way there by itself. Kinda like how the light from a flashlight gets weaker as it gets farther away, the waves your phone emits can't do all that either. That's where a mobile switching center comes in. And if you couldn't tell, this is pretty much the same thing as the landline switches I was talking about earlier. Just, mobile. So whenever you make a call, you click the button, your phone hits up the nearest cell tower, and the tower connects with the mobile switching center. And that's where they verify things like your details and location so that the call can get forwarded to whoever you're calling. That's how things like caller ID and location can show up when someone you don't know calls you. These cell signals used to suck, but they keep getting better and better over time due to newer generations of mobile technology. The most advanced at the moment is 5G, which uses new technology that you and I probably won't ever understand, also that I can watch Pokemon at 4K 120 FPS while on the go. Radio signals, GPS, cell service, and a bunch of other things all work over these electromagnetic waves. They all just use different wave frequencies for different things. GPS works by pinging multiple cell towers and using the response times to triangulate your location. Radio works pretty much the same way as calling does, and cell service is just Waves Premium Edition, where you get to use 5G and the stuff I talked about earlier, but also connect to the internet and do stuff on that. I know that was a mouthful, but since we're talking about modern day smartphones here, there's still more to cover. I'll start off lame. Your flashlight in your phone is actually just a tiny little LED that runs off your phone's battery. LED stands for light emitting diode, if you didn't know. I pretty much only use this thing when the power goes out and I need to be able to see so I can put my hamster back on the wheel to power my house. Surprisingly, the speaker on your phone works the exact same way as the speaker in the first ever phone I told you about. It's just really small now. Small is pretty much the name of the game when it comes to phones and really anything to do with technology. Because if smart scientists can figure out how to make stuff smaller, that means there's more processing for toddlers to play Roblox. I don't really think I'll be able to explain how a microchip works in this short video, but go ahead and let me know in the comments if I should do another video on that. Please subscribe, I really need it, please. I literally just have 40 hamsters powering my house, and a guy that just likes science doesn't make much money, so please subscribe, I'm broke as fuck.